Let's get right to our panel now. Dr. James Peterson is an associate professor at Lehigh University and a blogger for the Huffington Post. And Trey Hardin is a GOP strategist. Good afternoon to both of you. And Trey, Newt Gingrich's conduct is beginning to remind me of the road to Basra following the first Gulf War. Even in defeat, he's going to do his best to set fire to as much of the Republican Party as he possibly can. What advice would you give him?
The advice I would give him would be, don't do it. Choose the less selfish route, and let's focus on the task at hand, and that is unseating President Obama in November, which there is a very real chance to do. You know, listen, Newt Gingrich, this is it for him. This is his political career. It's not surprising that he's going down this way. You know, he worked to recreate himself since his time as Speaker, but this is it for him. This is his last opportunity in his political career, so he's going down swinging.
You sound, Trey, as though this is a man who's incapable of doing well. He's perfectly capable, as that columnist said, of just pulling the pin off the hand grenade and destroying himself.
Well, he's a polarizing figure. He was when he was Speaker, and he has been even since, when he has not really been as high profile, and he is now. Listen, Newt Gingrich will continue to fight another day because he has the microphone. The reason he has the microphone is because he's Newt Gingrich. He is a very bright man. He can recite history better than probably a lot of history professors in this country. And he's got some things to say. And it also feeds a desire of his to be heard. So, I anticipate that he'll continue to talk.
Dr. Peterson, notwithstanding what Trey Hardin just said, Newt Gingrich did win South Carolina, didn't he?
Sure.
And he did it very effectively.
Sure. Well, first of all, in all due respect to the history professors out there, I don't think that Mr. Gingrich can recite American history or world history better than most of the history professors that I know. But South Carolina is a very, very unique situation for Mr. Gingrich. And although he may be playing political maneuvers and thinking about his career and things of that nature, his critique of Romney and his ability to galvanize conservatives is something that's very real. There are very real grassroots conservative people who do not believe that Mitt Romney is conservative. And the whole concept of the not Romney sort of voting bloc moving throughout this Republican primary is very real. There are people who are conservative and who are Republican who do not want to vote for Mitt Romney.
Indeed. Trey, Republicans often point to the 2008 battle between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and suggest that in some way it's comparable to the kind of nastiness that's come into this fight between Romney and Gingrich. And yet, at the end of the day, Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Obama ended up working together, didn't they? I mean, can you ever imagine Gingrich and Romney sharing, a house or an office?
No, I don't believe Newt Gingrich is on the top of Mitt Romney's list for cabinet secretaries. But, no, listen, sometimes a battle inter-party is healthy. I would say that for the Republican Party, it's healthy right now, as they've been trying to kind of re-identify themselves. But I guess I would say to Dr. Peterson is that, it is not working. It didn't work in 2008. I don't think you could say John McCain was the most conservative candidate. I think, let's put some more context in this term that's being thrown around, GOP establishment. The GOP establishment is in this town that many of us are engaged in are about winning. That is what it's about.
Absolutely.
That is what the GOP establishment is about.
Dr. Peterson, Newt got to roll out one of the most high-profile endorsements to date today. Take a listen to this.
Shucky ducky. My kind of crowd. If I didn't know better, one could get the impression that you all like me.
That's Herman Cain sounding a little bit like Sally Field at the Oscars. But he's not exactly Jeb Bush, is he, Dr. Peterson?
No, Jeb Bush is the endorsement of choice that any of these candidates would love to have. I don't think that's forthcoming. I'm not sure how Mr. Cain's endorsement helps Mr. Gingrich so much, except for maybe the few Tea Party followers that really stuck with Mr. Cain. But the sort of the optics of this, to have Herman Cain being played in different segments, for this to be replayed is very, very useful for Mr. Mr. Gingrich in terms of his fight down there in Florida.
And I guess they can console each other because one has been a serial adulterer and the other has been accused of multiple cases of sexual harassment.
Well, that's irrelevant. We're talking about politics right now.
Well, I don't think it is that irrelevant because if you look at the way women are voting in Florida or suggesting they may vote, they're rather appalled by Newt Gingrich's particular serial adultery. Trey, how long can Newt drag this out for? Because when you look at a map of upcoming contests, there aren't really any obvious Newt pickups, are there, until perhaps Super Tuesday?
No, Martin, you're right on about that. I mean, if you look at the map, there really is nothing there. I think maybe Colorado, he has an opportunity. But again, he is going to keep going because he's Newt Gingrich, and he's going to have a microphone. He does not have the money. He does not have the infrastructure. And, you know, he does not have a campaign team. To his credit, he's been doing this all by himself with his two daughters, I believe. So he is going to continue to travel in that bus. He's going to go on TV, and he's going to try to speak to people. But I don't think you're going to see him much up on TV that much, and I think you're going to see him being very selective about where he goes.
Dr. Peterson, what is in this for Newt now? I mean, he earns a pretty penny, although, of course, not according to him, not as a lobbyist. But I mean, what's the point of this going forward?
The point is to continue to establish his political brand. The people who he is communicating with are actually people who are sort of sympathetic to his politics and really part of his constituency. This is the far-right folk. These are folk that are more responsive to some of his racialized discourses. These are folk that are more responsive to his kind of nasty political maneuvering and his critique of Romney. So he's going to continue to galvanize those folk. Remember, Mr. Gingrich has been very, very successful at selling films and making films, at selling books and doing book tours, and yes, also at lobbying, influencing other politicians to vote certain ways. Remember also that his super PAC money comes from someone who has a lot of money to have someone out there just to speak certain viewpoints. And so he's going to continue to do that. It may not necessarily be directly making money off those things, but the folks interested in his campaign and interested in the kind of political things that he is willing to say will continue to support him through this process, and he'll keep on taking their checks through the process.
Absolutely, and I have a feeling, sir, that Mr. Newt Gingrich will be around for some time to come.
Sure.
Trey Hardin and Dr. Peterson, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.